The love no one was supposed to know. This video is about one of those things we should never have to go through in our lives. How painful it is to have a forbidden love. A love that was never meant to exist, and one day appeared without warning. A love you never looked for. That is the first thing she needs to tell herself, even if sometimes she isn't entirely sure she believes it. There was never a plan. There was never an intention. There was never a conscious decision. It simply happened. At first, it was something small, almost imperceptible. A conversation that lasted a little longer than usual. A shared laugh. A kind gesture that lingered in her mind longer than it should have. Nothing that could be clearly labeled as wrong. Nothing that, at that moment, seemed dangerous. Just a new feeling, and a confusing one. He was a friend's husband, a close friend, someone she had shared important moments with. Confidences, laughter, support, and that's why, when the feeling appeared, she rejected it immediately. She told herself no. That it was absurd, that it was impossible, that she would never allow something like that. But feelings don't always ask for permission. And even though she never crossed a visible line, something inside her began to change. She started noticing his presence more than she should, remembering his words.
Anticipating the moments when they would see each other. And every time she realized it,
guilt appeared, because it wasn't only about her. There were families involved. There were loyalties. There were stories that did not belong to her. And she knew it. She never spoke about this with anyone. Not with friends. Not with her partner. Not even with herself, out loud. This love, if it could even be called that, became her secret. A heavy secret. She chose to stay silent, not because it was easy, but because she believed it was the right thing to do. To stay silent, to avoid hurting others. To stay silent, to protect. To stay silent so nothing would change. She thought silence would be enough. That time would extinguish it. That feelings, if they were not fed, would simply disappear. But that's not always how it works. Every encounter became more difficult. Every gathering required more control. Control over her gaze, over her tone, over what she said and what she didn't. Control over what she felt. And that control was exhausting. There were no kisses. There were no forbidden words. There were no promises. But there was something worse. A constant battle with herself. On the outside, everything stayed the same. She was the same. The friendship remained intact. The gatherings continued. On the inside, she lived a silent conflict. Sometimes, she wondered if anyone noticed. If her discomfort was obvious, if her sudden distance revealed more than she wanted to show. And then she pulled away a little more, not because she wanted to, but because she needed to survive what she was feeling. There were days when she told herself she was exaggerating, that it wasn't love, that it was just admiration, habit, confusion. But there were other days when the weight became unbearable. Because loving in silence also hurts, and loving something you can't have hurts even more. She knew how these stories end. She knew because she had seen them, because she had heard them, because life had taught her nothing good comes from a love that puts so many things at risk. And yet, she couldn't stop feeling. There were moments of weakness, moments when she asked herself, what if he feels the same? What if this isn't just mine? What if I'm giving up something real? But immediately after, reality returned, and with it, responsibility. Because even if there was a possibility, she knew that not everything that is possible is right. And that not everything you feel should be lived out. And so the days passed. The months, with the feeling growing and the silence becoming heavier. She began to change. She became more distant, more irritable, more emotionally exhausted. Not because she wanted drama, but because carrying a secret like that consumes you. And then a question appeared that wouldn't leave her alone. How long can you live silencing what you feel without losing yourself? Because not speaking also has consequences. One day, alone, in the middle of exhaustion, she understood something important. That this love was not a romantic story. It was a test of limits, of values, of self-love. She understood that loving does not always mean possessing. That feeling does not always mean acting. That renouncing can also be a form of love. Not only toward others, but toward herself. And this is where the story becomes reflection. Final reflection. If you, listening to this, have felt identified, if you have ever fallen in love with someone who wasn't meant for you, if you kept a feeling out of fear of destroying what you love, you need to know something important. Feeling does not make you a bad person. But deciding what to do with what you feel does define who you are. Not all loves are meant to be lived. Some arrive only to teach you something about yourself, about your limits, about what you value. Silence may protect others, but it doesn't always protect you. So, instead of judging yourself, listen to yourself. Ask yourself what you need to let go, to heal, to stop living trapped in a feeling that does not belong to you. Choosing not to cross a line is not cowardice. It is awareness. And if today you carry an impossible love, remember this: you are not alone. You are not the only one. And not everything that hurts is a mistake. Sometimes, it is just a silent lesson, teaching you to choose yourself, even if no one else ever knows.